I'm Gary Anthony Ramsey with your Hour News Now Rewind. Stories making headlines for the week ending September 11th, 2010. Our top stories include: the nation remembers the 9/11 attacks. Florida preachers plan to burn the Quran on 9/11 sparks international outrage. With stalled unemployment numbers, the president tries to pitch proposals for the economy. Multiple fires ravage large parts of Detroit. A report says running back Reggie Bush will be stripped of the Heisman Trophy. And a man whose name is synonymous with police brutality plans to take a bride. Our top story. 9 years ago, terrorists from an organization that most Americans had never heard of took control of 4 commercial airliners. 3 hit their targets, while passengers heroically forced the 4th into the ground. The 9/11 attacks are remembered. The Twin Towers in New York were destroyed, and the Pentagon in Washington was heavily damaged. But the human loss of 2,019 people is what endures on the American landscape the most. In a new documentary on the attacks that debuted this week, former National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice spoke about the chaos in the minutes after the first plane struck.
We had no idea where it was safe and where it wasn't. We didn't think the bunker of the White House was safe.
Of course, Al-Qaeda is a name that everyone knows now in this country. At the time, the group was hiding in Afghanistan. The U.S. invaded that country shortly after, and the war there continues to this day. And while many Al-Qaeda members have been caught or killed, their leader, Osama bin Laden, remains alive and at large. The lasting emotions generated from the 9/11 attacks have fueled what Time magazine has described as Islamophobia, a mistrust of Muslims across the world and even American citizens right here in this country. A mosque that's under construction in Lower Manhattan near Ground Zero has sparked a national debate about Islam and whether America is truly a country that believes in freedom of religion. In Gainesville, Florida, a preacher's plan to make 9/11 a day for burning the Quran set off a worldwide firestorm. Dr. Terry Jones, whose church only has about 50 people, vowed to burn the Islamic holy book to demonstrate what he calls the evil intentions of that religion. President Obama and Christian leaders from around the world pleaded with Jones not to go forward with his plans, which many feel would make it even more dangerous for Americans. Well, after claiming that he had a deal with the leaders of that controversial mosque in Lower Manhattan to move the facility, Jones postponed his 9/11 burning plan. But the leaders of the Islamic Center in New York say no such deal to move is in place. Well, the current crisis in this country remains the economy. And with unemployment stuck at 9.6%, the White House and Democrats are feeling the heat to do something just weeks before the midterm elections in November. The unemployment gap for blacks remains higher than the national average. Only 1 in 3 African Americans under the age of 25 have jobs. President Obama, under pressure to do more, launched 2 proposals he says will create jobs and bring more money back into the budget to pay for them. The president pitched a $50 billion infrastructure plan to fix the country's roads, bridges, and airports. He also says that while he wants tax cuts for the middle class to remain in place, he wants the Bush-era tax cuts for the wealthy to be repealed. Obama says the tax repeal would restore $750 billion to the budget over the next 10 years. Well, pundits say that they doubt the Obama proposals will become a reality in light of those elections that are coming up, which could dramatically change the balance of power in Washington. Well, in Detroit, investigators believe a combination of downed power lines and arson are to blame for fires that ravage large parts of the city. The blazes have added to the scars of an already blighted region that's racked with unemployment and crime. 85 homes were destroyed in the 10 fires that swept through the city. More than a third of the houses are believed to have been empty or abandoned. The fires took place before the city could move on plans to destroy structures that have been deemed unsafe. More than 200 firefighters responded to the fires. No injuries were reported. In Chicago, reputed gang members are crying foul over a new police initiative to curb gang violence. In an unusual move, they call a press conference to tell the public they're not going anywhere or changing anything they do. The current and former gang members gathered to criticize Chicago's police chief, who recently held a so-called gang summit. The meeting, set up by Superintendent Jody Weiss, was intended to let gang members know they would be targeted with multiple tactics if they didn't stop the killing. Gang members said the effort is a waste of time.
What you asking for can never happen.
I condone everything anybody doing to provide for anybody to help feed the mouths that's hungry.
Homicides in Chicago have fallen from 943 in 1992 to 460 in 2009. But 4 police officers have been killed in the line of duty this year. 2 others have been shot. A company whose name has been closely associated with pictures for the past century may have color issues that have absolutely nothing to do with their images. A judge has cleared the way for Kodak to pay $21 million to settle 2 discrimination lawsuits. The photo giant will pay more than 3,000 past and current employees about $10 million. The rest will go to their lawyers. The suits filed in 2004 and 2007 claim that Kodak routinely passed over black employees for raises, promotions, and generally fostered a hostile work environment. In a statement, Kodak said the settlement, quote, represents a resolution of mutual interest and it absolutely does not suggest any wrongdoing. The settlement amounts will range from $1,000 to $50,000 per claimant. In your Our News Now World Wrap, U.S. Marines storm a cargo ship that was hijacked by Somali pirates. It's part of an international effort to crack down on what now appears to be frequent attacks on shipping lanes near Africa. The 24 Marines swooped on the German-owned MV Magellan Star and took control of the ship from the 9 pirates who themselves are now in custody. The crew of the ship had sealed themselves in a container before the raid. The U.S. is part of a 25-nation contingent that protects shipping off the coast of Africa. In an unrelated incident, pirates released a Bulgarian ship that was seized back in May. A United Nations official says that UN peacekeepers have failed the women and children of the Congo. This is after it's revealed that more than 500 have been raped over the last few weeks within a mile of a UN base. Atul Khare told the Security Council that the scale of systematic rape by armed rebels was far worse than feared. He said the 500 women and children is more than double the previous reported figure. He calls for the prosecution of Rwandan and Congolese rebels who are blamed for many of the attacks. After years of being plagued by crime, South Africa had some good news as it reports a sharp decline in the murder rate. The police minister says homicides fell by 8.6% to dip to below 17,000 for the first time since nationwide records have been kept since 1995. Back then, the total was 27,000 murders a year. A statistic of 50 murders a day in South Africa was widely quoted in the build-up to this year's World Cup. That average has declined to 46 per day, but remains one of the highest in the world. Super Bowl winner Reggie Bush will reportedly have his highest collegiate honor stripped. The Heisman Trophy Trust will take back the honor after revelations of Bush's improper conduct while he was a student at the University of Southern California. The New Orleans Saint is accused of taking money and other gifts while a player at USC, a violation of NCAA rules. The university has already been hit with a 2-year football postseason ban, reduced scholarships for the football and men's basketball programs, and is on probation through June of 2014. And finally, his name has been synonymous with police brutality since his infamous run-in with cops was caught on videotape back in 1991. Well, now it appears that Rodney King has found love and will be getting married. But who he's marrying is raising some eyebrows. King is marrying one of the jurors who awarded him $3.8 million in his lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles. Cynthia Kelly met King the day after the civil trial ended in 1994. The two have been involved on and off since then. King popped the question last week. King's videotape beating by 4 white LA cops created international scrutiny of police tactics and race relations between cops and their communities. The acquittal of the cops by the predominantly white jury led to 4 days of rioting in LA, where 54 people died. For a complete look at any of the stories you've seen on The Rewind, remember, as always, go to the bottom of the webpage, find the link of the story you'd like to see, and click your way through. That's your Our News Now Rewind for this week. I'm Gary Anthony Ramsey.